I'm going to sing our prelude together this morning. You're welcome to stay seated. Please join me in singing. Come, come, whoever you are.
Leaving us is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, broken your vows 1,000 times. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of thee, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come yet again. Come, come, whoever you are, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times,
Though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Well done. Here comes Lilias Cowper, one of our new board members.
Good morning. Welcome to the home of the Calgary Unitarians. It's a hard act to follow after Jeff's welcoming last week. But anyway, I'm welcoming you. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your journey of faith or search for meaning, welcome. If you are visiting for the first time or for the first time in a long time, know that we are grateful to have you with us. We come together in beloved community to grow in wisdom, welcome and deepen relationships, and act for a just and sustainable world. We start, as always, by acknowledging the land we are on and the peoples for whom this is their traditional territory. The people of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Siksika, Piikani, Kainai, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nation and the Stoney Nakoda, comprised of the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Wellesley First Nations. Mukinsis, the Black word for what is now known as the city of Calgary, is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. In offering a land acknowledgement, we honor those who have been her stewards and accept our shared responsibility for being good caretakers. We of the Treaty 7 region of Southern Alberta signed September 22nd, 1877, acknowledged that treaties were entered into as a collaboration between settlers and Indigenous peoples, making us all treaty people. My name is Lilias Cowper, and I use the pronouns she, her, and I have the privilege of serving on your board of trustees. This congregation is where I feel I belong. People here want to make the world a better place through social justice work, love of their family and friends, and pursuing their own spiritual journey. I want to be part of a community with those values. Please join us after the service for soup lunch and treats for dessert. Treat yourself and come. The more, the merrier.
And now is the time we joyfully greet our neighbors and all those who are worshiping with us today. Please rise and body your spirit. We're going to wave and say hello to everyone on Zoom. We love you. Mwah. Welcome. Hello, hello. We're glad you're with us. And greet your neighbors in the hall. Carl. Hi, Carol. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. We love each other so much. It's so great. We're so excited to be together. Woohoo! I've been accused of acting like a Labrador retriever sometimes, and that's it. Yeah, woo! Hi, I'm so happy to see you. I love you. I missed you. Woo! So we will have an extended time this afternoon. For those of you here with us, please join us for soup luncheon. We'll get a chance to chat and visit and just spend this precious, precious time together. We hope you can stay. And for those of you online, we will have a coffee time so you can chat together and hopefully get to know one another better and spend a little quality time with your you loved ones in our community of communities we'll be talking about today. Our chalice lighting this morning comes from Sharon Wiley. We speak so often of brokenness in religious life. Let us speak today of wholeness. You are welcome here, all of you. Every part of you, beautiful, just the way you are. Here, you do not need to be something more or something less. No holding back, no hiding, no exerting yourself, no trying to do more or be more. You have inherent worth and dignity. Nothing to prove here, nothing to prove to me, or to the person sitting next to you, or the children, or to anyone. You don't have to try to be witty, or more quiet, or more outgoing. You are beautiful. Every part of you beautiful, just the way you are. You don't need to change anything about yourself to be welcome here. Your skin, your hair, your belly, your limbs, your face, all beautiful, just the way you are. You are extraordinary. Each and every one of you different from each other and beautiful in your own beautiful way. Breathtaking. Let us worship together. As we come to the end of May, our month of nurturing beauty, we are already moving into June's theme, which is celebrating blessings by nurturing and celebrating beloved community. COVID has been so hard on all of us, and it's made us realize that being together is more important than ever. And as we humans so often do, we are learning and growing from this adversity. We're emerging with a renewed commitment to our covenantal faith that places right relationships at the center of ever-widening circles of beloved community. So please rise and body your spirit and join me in singing the community song. It's a sweet little tune that is new to us, but it's easy to learn. All we have to do is follow the children, and they will teach us the community song.
Wake up everybody, yeah, yeah, yeah. We are all VIP, we are all VIP. With some hard work, good vibes and community. U-N-I-T-Y in unity. What does respect mean to me? Accept each other, there's a right to be free. You, me, he and she. to hard times with friends forever. See the bigger picture, the common goal. Make this a place we can all call home. Sometimes we all need a little kindness, and our community will help us find it. Wake up everybody, yeah, yeah, yeah. We are all VIP, we are all VIP. With some hard work, good vibes and community. UNITY and unity. Wake up everybody, yeah, yeah, yeah. We are all VIP, we are all VIP. With some hard work, good vibes and community. UNITY and unity. Wake up everybody, we are all VIP, we are all VIP. We are with some hard work, good vibes and community. UNITY and
After that song, I feel like we're all VIPs, aren't we? For sure. Many of you know me. I'm Sheila McMaster, the Director of Religious Education here at the Calgary Unitarians. Woo! And my pronouns are she and her, and I'm really happy to be here this morning. Today, I want to talk about camp. Some of you have heard me talk about camp for like months and months. So what we do, we haven't done it for the past, this is my hair, isn't it? I'm having the Reverend Shelley issue. There we go. Move my beautiful long hair away from the microphone. So many of you heard me talk about camp. And so past 2 years, sadly, we have not gone to camp, and I am so ready to go this year. So it's in August 5th to the 7th, and we're going to the medieval Nights Encampment, Good Nights Encampment. So it's a medieval camp. We have medieval costumes. We have a medieval feast. We're going to do a potluck on Friday. We're going to have like a barbecue lunch. We're going to have archery. There's leather craft. We're going to have a really good time. And right now we just have 2 tents left. That is it. And when I say tents, I'm talking fancy. I'm talking like includes the bedding and there's a toilet. It is glamping. So it is very wonderful. But you'll want to contact me at dre@calgaryunitarians.ca if you're on Zoom, or anyone here, come see me during the soup and I can get you hooked up for our last 2 spots. And if you're thinking, oh, I would like to come, but I don't want to sleep over, I also have feast tickets, which means you can come up just for the Saturday. It's 1 hour away just by 3 Hills. And you can come up for the day and enjoy everything just as much with us. So let me know and I'll hook you up. But we're doing camp this year. Woo! Very exciting. And today we're talking about community. And some of you may know we have our community garden just outside here on the church grounds. And today for years and years, every year we do something with the kids and the garden, and every year it's mixed success. Some of us are better gardeners than others. So this year, today, what we're doing is we're making our own potted strawberry garden and mint garden. And the plan is we're going to plant it today. We've got the dirt in there and we're doing it all inside today in our little pots, but we got the mint and the strawberry plants. And then in the fall, when we have our bountiful harvest, we're going to do a strawberry and mint tea. So I think that'll be very nice. And all summer long, you can look forward to updates on how our strawberries and mint are doing this summer. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And today I also have a story for all of you. What would Sunday morning be without our story, right? And this one is called The Curious Garden. And it's about one person doing something a little bit different. And by doing so, they bring the whole community together. And so join us now for, cue the slides, The Curious Garden by Peter Brown. There once was a city without gardens or trees or greenery of any kind. Most people spent their time indoors. As you can imagine, it was a very dreary place. However, there was one boy who loved being outside. And even on drizzly days like today, while everyone else stayed inside, you could always find Liam happily splashing through his neighborhood. And it was on one such morning that Liam made several surprising discoveries. He was wandering around the old railway, and as he did from time to time, when he stumbled upon a dark stairwell leading up to the tracks. And the railway had stopped working ages ago. And since Liam had always wanted to explore the tracks, there was only one thing for a curious boy to do. Liam ran up the stairs and he pushed open the door and stepped out onto the railway. And the first thing he saw was a lonely patch of color. Wildflowers and plants were the last thing he expected to find up here. But when he took a closer look, it became clear that the plants were dying. They needed a gardener. And Liam may not have been a gardener, but he knew that he could help. And so he returned to the railway the very next day and got to work. And the flowers nearly drowned, and he had a few pruning problems. But the plants patiently waited while Liam found better ways of gardening. And as the weeks rolled by, Liam began to feel like a real gardener, and the plants began to feel like a real garden. And most gardens stay in one place, but this was no ordinary garden. With miles of open railway ahead of it, the garden was growing restless. It wanted to explore. And the tough little weeds and the mosses were the first to move, and they popped up farther and farther down the tracks and were closely followed by the more delicate plants. And over the next few months, Liam and the Curious Garden explored every corner of that railway. And there's a few beautiful slides of the garden. And after spending his spring and summer and autumn with the garden, Liam's time on the railway was finally interrupted by winter. And heavy blankets of snow fell on the city that season. And for the first time since he became a gardener, Liam could not visit the plants. And rather than waste his winter worrying about the garden, Liam spent it preparing for spring. And after 3 cold months of snow, or 6 if you're in Canada, the snow finally began to melt, and Liam rolled his new gardening gear over to the railway. And winter had taken its toll on the garden. But thanks to Liam's planning, his handy new tools, and a little help from the sun, the plants soon awoke from their winter sleep. And the garden had always wanted to explore the rest of the city, and that spring, it was finally ready to make its move. And once again, the tough little weeds and mosses set out first, and they popped up farther and farther from the railway and were closely followed by the more delicate plants once again. And the garden was especially curious about old and forgotten things. And a few plants popped up where they didn't belong. And others mysteriously popped up all at once. But the most surprising things that popped up were the new gardeners. And there they are, gardening away. And many years later, the entire city had blossomed. But of all the new gardens, Liam's favorite was where it had all began. The end. And so E.E. Cummings once said, once we believe in ourselves, we can risk curiosity and wonder and spontaneous delight, or any experience that reveals the human spirit. And so now the children and youth, there are a couple children downstairs, I believe. We're going to be taking that curiosity and wonder and making our own community garden. So please join me as we sing our way downstairs, Go Now in Peace.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the love of God's everywhere you may go.
Now is the time when we light our candles of joys and sorrows, good news and troubles, all the things that are just too important not to share with our beloved community. As I was saying, it's our time for our candles of care and concern. We share all the important things in our lives with one another here in our community. I'm going to light a candle for all of our joys and celebrations and good news. We had a good intro to UU class yesterday with Caitlin and Carol. We're having a soup lunch, woohoo! So much good news. I'm gonna light a candle for our sorrows and concerns, and a candle for our global community. So much going on out there in the wider world. My heart is really heavy these days with the craziness back home in the States, with all the guns. And at this time when we're having a membership focused and our community focused worship today, we do want to honor and remember those members who've died in the past year. Bob McPherson died last May. Our library is named for Bob, and he absolutely loved that community garden, and apparently especially the worms. We remember Bob as we're getting out there and gardening again. And Barry Wilkinson, who passed away last August. He was a sound technician extraordinaire and a great friend to many. And Roxy Neal, who was a very long time member for many years, and then we lost touch as she aged and was no longer in participation with us. But we're deeply grateful for their presence, for their contributions to this community, for bringing us this far. We honor them and we send our love and our thoughts for their loved ones to find peace and healing. We continue to send our love and our well wishes to Jane Perry and her spouse, Cora. She's slogging through chemotherapy, and those several days after those treatments become really, really harsh and painful for her. So she needs our continued love and support. She knows she has it. We're thinking of Sheila and her family today as her little girl, Morgan, is still in the hospital experiencing really severe migraines, and they're in the midst of moving. So they need lots of love and support from us. And we certainly hope that Morgan is going to be on the mend soon and be able to leave the hospital to enjoy some spring weather here before long. As we sing Love Will Guide Us together this morning, you are invited to light a candle or add a pebble to our pool. And we will take this time for all of the things that remain in the sanctuaries of our hearts. Let us lift up our joys and sorrows together.
Do I dare? Okay. My name is Lynn Nugent. For those of you who don't know me, my pronouns are she and her. So, good morning and welcome as we explore the beauty of community. Reflecting on community is particularly poignant for me as I try to establish a new normal following 2 years of isolation. One of our well-known Unitarians from the 19th century, Transcendentalist Ralph Waldo Emerson, believed that the individual cannot be understood in isolation. He said, every being in nature has its existence so connected with other beings that if set apart from it, it would instantly perish. That sounds like an early Unitarian recognition of the interdependent web, as our seventh principle recognizes. And for the Transcendentalists, this came to their interest through their reading of Buddhists and Hindus. We don't thrive in isolation, we need each other. Community holds us as we search for truth and meaning, our fourth principle. I know it helps me to have a religious community as I explore the big questions around belief and meaning in life. My own explorations have evolved through time and also through discussions with members of our congregation, participation in some of our religious exploration, and engaging with the history and theology of Unitarian Universalism. We can learn from the triumphs and the struggles of our own denomination. At Calgary Unitarians, we can practice the second principle of justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, and then take it out into the world. Our sixth principle, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Our church community is a place where we can gently encourage each other in our endeavors to make the world a better place, and where we can find a soft spot to land when the going gets tough, and it often does. Our covenant of right relations provides a model for how we can compassionately relate to one another, and both within and outside of our Calgary Unitarian home. A metaphor that's commonly used when we talk about church community is that of family. Paula Cole-Jones, in her 2019 lecture at the Unitarian Universalist General Assembly, suggests that we move away from relating to church as family because this centers individualism and instead think in terms of a community of communities. Are Calgary Unitarians a community of communities, as Paula Cole-Jones suggests? This model is invested in the health of the individual as well as the group. When we look within Calgary Unitarians, we see many communities that form the larger whole. Many of these groups stayed in relationship through the pandemic using Zoom. Here's a couple of examples. Vespers on Tuesday evenings. That formed a whole new community during the pandemic. And I know our musical folks used Zoom to continue choirs, whether it be coffee choir, euphonia, and so on. Who are the other communities that make up or have made up the larger whole of Calgary Unitarians? I'm not going to attempt to name them all, put you all to sleep as I go through the list. It's actually, when you start looking, there's a lot. Some examples might be religious exploration, parents forming a cohort as they get to know each other and support each other as their children participate in the children and youth programs, Adults make friends and explore ideas together through adult religious exploration programs. Other examples, social events such as walking groups that got together during COVID in order for people to be together in person. The weekly pub night we used to have where a cohort formed and discussed issues of the day over a drink. Participation on the Board of Trustees, Worship Arts, Green Sanctuary, Widening the Circle, Caring Team, and so on. But wait, didn't I just mention some committees? And is the board really a community? We don't usually think of them that way, do we? Paula Cole-Jones suggests that committees and boards are often real communities in and among themselves, and suggests we think of them as such, rather than treating them as business and obligation. When we gather to do the work to further beloved community, we also form friendships and learn from one another. My own experience reflects this. Through my time with this congregation, I have been on the Board of Trustees and I've volunteered on several committees. And it is through those involvements that I've made connections and formed deeper relationships within our congregation. I believe that there's a powerful synergy created when individuals come together according to their interests and talents. Paula Cole-Jones' model, Community of Communities, moves us away from privileging the individual, but we are deeply committed to the well-being of individuals. Each person matters, and being in relationship, playing and working together in healthy, functional communities, whether they be social, educational, work. This is what is connected to the well-being of the whole community. We don't have a healthy community if we're made up of exhausted individuals. Rather, we thrive through investment and connections formed in relationships that respect our interests, our energy levels, and our desire to work together for social and environmental justice. Such a community provides space where we can explore questions of belief, faith, and meaning together. Our community of Calgary Unitarians celebrates when one or more of us experiences joy and grieves with us in our times of sorrow. It's a place where meaningful friendships can grow from casual acquaintanceships. Let's celebrate together the beauty, the gift of community. May it be so.
Thank you, Lynn. As we move into our second year of interim ministry, our leadership teams will be asking everyone for your input and participation to evaluate who we are, what we do, and why we're here as a faith community in Calgary. This is the time to examine our institutional structures and all of the ways that we do church, to assess what works, what doesn't, and what no longer serves our needs and our mission, and how we can grow and change and adapt to new models of congregational life that are a better match for our values, our principles, and our mission. This past year, we've talked a lot about our new 8th principle, our commitment to accountably dismantle racism and other structural barriers within ourselves and our institution. And we've been working with the Widening the Circle of Concern recommendations regarding institutional change to help us develop our skills, our practices, and our ways of being that embody anti-racism, anti-oppression, and multiculturalism. And as Lynn shared with us, UU leader extraordinaire and Jedi consultant Paula Cole-Jones, who is the creator of the 8th principle, has been working with congregations on challenging the way we think of ourselves and the way we relate to each other in the wider community. JEDI, for those of you who don't know, it stands for Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. May the force be with us all. Paula is encouraging us to change our metaphor from being a family to being a community of communities. And I think that you'll agree with her and with Lynn and with me that in many, many ways, we're already doing this. She presented at the Unitarian Universalist Association's General Assembly in 2020, along with Reverend Renee Rahutsky. And I want to let them share some of their words of wisdom and some of these ideas with you. Roll the clips, please.
As Unitarian Universalists are a community of communities working to fulfill our mission in the world, to live our values, and to build the beloved community. The community of communities is a proposal to change the way that we identify ourselves as a church. And this identity piece is twofold. So it's a move from us seeing and referring to church as a family to us relating and portraying to others that each Unitarian Universalist church and our association is a community of communities. So the twofold part is the way that we see ourselves and relate to the church. The second part of that is the way that we portray ourselves and help other people to see us as a community of communities. So this proposal, it stimulates a lot of conversation, right? It's been interesting to watch it. A lot of conversations about family expectations and our understanding of being a part of a church. And people are often curious by this or interested in the idea, but we rarely question the idea of being a family because it's sacred. Family is a sacred idea, but it no longer holds our values and our collective identities or the complexity of how we relate in the world around us. An unexamined family concept makes it difficult for us to undo the historic nature of society and to really build more equality into our relationships. And that's going to be a challenge for us while we try to build the beloved community. Because if we can't see it, if we can't see where the changes can be made, and the historic nature of relationships in this country, they're just so built in, so ingrained that they're normal. You know, it's kind of hard to see, for many people to see where changes need to be made because things feel pretty comfortable. Of course, we know that's not for everyone. If we are a family, then the idea is that we all belong to one thing. And I'd say that we all belong to multiple things, not to one thing. The community of communities is a structure that reflects that. For us as individuals, the multiple communities hold our interests and the aspects of our identities. You know, we hear people talk about you don't have to leave your identity at the door. You don't have to leave yourself at the door. Well, when you come into a space where the notion, whether it's spoken or not, is a family, you may be leaving some things at the door in order to fit in or be a part of or to be accepted by family. For the larger church, the community gets its identity. The church community gets its identity by the communities that reside inside of that church. Think about it. Churches are known for their music programs, right? Got a great music program. or certainly known for size, or, you know, a great religious education program. But those programs are about communities, right? How we serve communities, or how communities bring their resources in. The church may be known for having a great certain social justice program, or I think about the legislative ministries. Some churches are closely associated with legislative ministries. All of that to say that the identity of the church is in many ways shaped by the communities that reside within the church. Even if we think about churches in terms of they're multicultural or they're multi-generational, that's just simply an expression of the communities that are there in the church. So why would we not see the church as a community of communities? Because we already are, as opposed to the church as a family. This is a good time for us to reconsider what that means. So the church also gets its identity from the communities outside of its walls with whom it's in relationship, those where we're working together. And that is often a bridge by which people discover Unitarian Universalism or a particular church and come in. They might come in just for meetings. You know, they might come in for a program. They might come in because they've been invited to do something, or that they've heard something about the church through the social justice work. And that is often the pathway that becomes membership for some people in the community. I think we all know that. But if we conceptualize ourselves as a community of communities, then there are many doorways for people to enter the church rather than your front door or your side door.
Seeing leadership shared in a different way, which I think overlaps with this. When the UUA had a leadership change at the top, we ended up with 3 presidents representing different constituencies and different talents. The idea of going from individualism to this community of communities is really creating opportunities for people to bring complementary gifts. This is my permaculture input, I think. There's something about, nature works together. There's not a single person who can do all the things. That's part of a cultural thing that we need to leave behind as we decide how we're going to design our communities going forward. Having a single person in charge of the thing is something that is, if that person no longer can do the job, then you're stuck. But really having a group of people who can play off each other's strengths is also a way of thinking that there's redundancy. There's more than one person. And in a community, there's the communities within the larger community have redundancy, and they all have sort of know one another and know what's important to like that age group or that social justice focus, or there's a richer experience where people are seen and see one another in this I-thou relationship. But also it creates a richness in the whole community where somebody who walks through the door can see possible niches that they might be able to find themselves in, that there's a gift that they can bring to the community and the gift will be appreciated. It's not that somebody walks in the door and people say, oh, look, a new person, let's see if we can get them to volunteer for coffee hour. It's really a conversation of, this is who we are. We can articulate who we are, and who are you, and how can you find your place, your niche in this community. So it's more of a consensual, mutual conversation.
Also a way of building trust between communities. And the part of the idea of a community of communities is not just the well-being within the community, which a community will do most of the work of its own well-being, but the well-being between communities. So we get we get away from this competitive nature that has, always been a part of society. But inside of the church, we can move away from kind of the scarcity model or the competitive model and recognize, again, the well-being of the church is a reflection of the well-being of the communities within the church and the well-being and the cooperation between the communities. So I think about the first principle, belief in the inherent worth and dignity of each person. Belief in the inherent worth and dignity of each community. And the community, in a sense, is kind of defining itself. So there's a shift in terms of that identity being, I want to say, imposed or seen from outside versus the community defining itself and looking out for the members of the community. That happens. It just is happening anyway. We do a lot of ministry within these communities. We're ministering to each other all the time, as well as producing and creating for the larger community.
That's an excerpt from a General Assembly talk, and the rest of that talk is available online if you want to watch more of it. It's lots of good stuff. And there's a lot to unpack there, I know. We just heard Renee say that there's not a single person who can do all the things. And I want to just tell you a quick little story of what happened yesterday. The importance of redundancy in community systems and of teams sharing ministry and holding knowledge together. It turns out in one significant way, we are a secret society with a secret key. It's the key to the coffee cupboard. And as a coffee addict and your minister, I didn't even know where that was. It tells you how hard it's been with COVID for us to spend time together. I was here with Margaret and with Mary Jane, and they're 2/3 of our fabulous membership committee. And we just had to phone our friends for help because we didn't know what to do. So of course we called Duff and Mitch and we said, where's the key? Where's the key? And it turned out there was a key to find keys. And Mitch just talked us through that crisis with the calm, steady presence of a hostage negotiator. And Margaret made the coffee and all was well. And my friends, the membership team now knows how to get the coffee. We are a community of communities. And we thank our beloved Mitch because so often these questions come down to, I don't know, let's call Mitch. But poor Mitch wants to retire from that post. So the more we can all be a community of communities and have those redundancies and share those secrets with one another so they're not so secret anymore, the better. All those wonderful things that Paula said, I'm like highlighting them and writing them all down. How are we choosing to see ourselves? How are we portraying ourselves to others? And how do other people see us? And she asks us, what does it mean to belong? How do we relate to one another? How do we relate to the whole? How do we relate to the wider community? We want all of that to reflect our values, our collective identities, and the complexities of how we relate to the world. And you know what? We're good at this here at Calgary Unitarians. Teamwork makes the dream work, as we say. We have so many teams that are in fact communities here. And worship's a good example. We have an AV team and we have a worship team and we have the CYRE team and we have all of you. We have membership, we have hospitality going. We're a community of communities on Sunday morning. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. It makes the magic happen. And then, of course, in our relationships beyond our walls here, we're a community of communities in the Calgary Alliance for the Common Good. It's a community of communities, right? And then that in turn interacts with various communities in frontline and targeted areas of our larger society. And then they work with City Council to try to create change. And our participation in that helps us cultivate those multi-directional pathways that Paula was mentioning, where we have more and more opportunities to go out and engage and participate and know others and be known. It also invites others to maybe come and check us out and be a part of our faith community here. So continuing to cultivate those multi-directional pathways is so important. And on the broader UU scene, We are part of the Calgary, or I'm sorry, I always do this, the C's and the U's. We've got Calgary Unitarians and we've got the Canadian Unitarian Council. And we're part of the Western region. And so this summer, I'm very excited to announce we're participating in a Zoom worship collaborative with 4 other congregations. So that's a great way for us to deepen our relationships with other UUs and make friends and see what it's like in other UU churches if you haven't done that before. So we hope you'll participate in that and make some new friends and have a good time. And we're encouraging everyone this summer to continue to go for walks and meet for potlucks and hang out together and spend time together in ways that form these little communities of communities so that we stay connected and really enjoy being with one another and get that richness that Renee was talking about. And another exciting development is that the CUC is developing a leadership discernment circle to talk about decision-making and how we do decision-making in a power with shared model that is equitable and inclusive as best as we can. So that's things like sociocracy and consensus building. We're going to investigate all that and talk about how we might do that in parish ministry and in our communities. So those conversations are going to continue, and there'll be a training in the fall. We're really looking forward to it. I know Pam Rickey, our board president, is really excited about it, and we want to include everybody in those conversations. So I just encourage all of us to keep this community of communities in mind. And I think it's a very important way for us to think of ourselves and what we do here as we go forward and as we all learn to better and better represent ourselves and explain to people who we are when we meet them and invite them to be a part of who we are going forward. And I give you the words of Edward Shemp. Unitarian Universalism is cooperation with the universe that created us. It's a celebration of life. It's being in love with goodness and justice. It's a sense of humor about absolutes. Unitarian Universalism is faith in people, hope for tomorrow's child, confidence in a continuity that spans all time. It looks not to a perfect heaven, but toward a good earth. It's respectful of the past, but not limited to it. It is trust in growing and conspiracy with change. It is a spiritual responsibility for a moral tomorrow. Amen. Ashe. May it be so. May we make it so. And now here's Lynn with our offering.
Now is the time we honor and gratefully receive the financial support that sustains this community and its mission. It's through the hard work and generosity of our members and friends that we're able to come together and continue to build beloved community. In this technological age, there are many ways to give, and we heartily thank all of you who make your regular pledge contributions or identify donations through auto-pay, e-checks, and other digital means that we can't see in the offering basket. There are envelopes available for your personal contributions, and the information on our slide will allow you to choose the way that works best for you. Our For Others recipient for May is Bear Clan Patrol, Calgary. They are modeled after Bear Clan Patrol in Winnipeg. The patrol is a community-based solution to crime prevention, providing a sense of safety, solidarity, and belonging both to its members and to the communities they serve. This is achieved in a non-violent, non-threatening, non-judgmental, and supportive manner, primarily through relationship building and reconciliation. The Bear Clan draws its direction solely from traditional philosophies and practices. Their services are freely offered to anyone in the community and provide an Indigenous alternative to police involvement. In addition, Bear Clan Patrol offers sandwiches to the community as food assistance program. Currently, this Kirby Center is partnering with them to provide the sandwiches. So our 4 others funds raised this month will go to support the sandwich program. If you would like to contribute to Bear Clan Patrol Calgary, please indicate that with your donation. You can either say Bear Clan Patrol or just say 4 others, and that's where it will go. Your gifts will now gratefully be received. Please join together in singing Spirit of Life.
Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all the stirring of compassion, blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
We extinguish our chalice with the words of Deborah Burrell. We have basked in the warmth and beauty of this flame and this community. As the chalice flame is extinguished, let us carry its glow within. Let us kindle new sparks within these walls and beyond. Again, a reminder to please join us for coffee time online. That chat link is going to be, the link's going to be in the chat, and there'll be a slide giving you directions. And if you are here with us, I hope you're staying for lunch. I can smell wonderful soup cooking back there. And as we leave our community of communities this morning, let's take this beautiful way of looking at the world with us. Be on the lookout, be social anthropologists out there. See where you see this in action and where you see it missing. What's going on in the wider world around us, and how can we model this and bring this out there with us to try and influence the world around us and make it just that much more beautiful and inclusive and rich and welcoming to everyone. Be on the lookout for good behavior in communities of communities in the wider world. And if you see some places that could use a little help, we have the Calgary Alliance for that. So it takes friends, it takes a village, and a whole bunch of villages of villages, right? May we go from this place, creating pathways into beloved community that widen our circles until everyone belongs. Please join me in singing, Answering the Call of Love.